Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Matthias the Corgi, and this is another episode of An Unforgettable Moment, the series where we talk about situations in gaming that are, well, unforgettable. Now, before we get into anything, sorry for taking so long with making this episode. I actually had another episode completed for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I had the script done, the recordings, the editing, everything. But when I reviewed the final cut, I didn't really like it. So I'm still on the fence about releasing that. It's probably not going to see the light of day, but that took up a lot of my time editing and having everything done. In the meantime, let's talk about today's episode, which will be covering another indie franchise. Yes, another indie game. But they're great gems if you take the time to play them. And you can really feel how the developers pour their heart and soul into them. Unlike some companies, this one deviates a bit from our previous episodes. Whilst previous entries covered lighter games and more chill topics, this time we're going to dive into the horror genre, specifically speaking of Five Nights at Freddy's. Whilst the horror genre of indie games has always been there, for example with Slender Man, SCP Containment Breach, Cry of Fear, and many other titles, Five Nights at Freddy's specifically took the YouTube community by storm. Five Nights at Freddy's 1 released all the way back in August of 2014. 2014! Man, do I feel old. The game was made by Scott Cawthon, an indie developer who had previous experience with creating games and used some of the criticism of those games to make the franchise. It was a simple game with simple mechanics. You're a security guard hired at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and you watch cameras and make sure nobody gets in. However, you soon come to learn that you are also trapped in the establishment with dangerous animatronics. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy were the primary animatronics that started it all. Each and every single one with a different pattern of movement and mechanics that you needed to learn in order to survive. Throughout the series, these were more fleshed out. More characters were added in, and a lot more mechanics were required to survive the night. Personally speaking, I feel like at one point they do get a little bit out of hand with the amount of things that you need to do. It's not much, by all means, it's not a lot. However, it is a little bit tedious to have to juggle between everything. You are informed via phone by Phone Guy, because we only know him through the phone, and he tells you that you need to use your resources to survive the night. You watch the cameras to know the locations of the animatronics, and you use your lights in order to see blind spots near your office. The doors are there to prevent anything from coming in and stuffing you in a suit, which was basically the game over screen. Again, pretty simple. Now there are multiple things that made the game so good, and the first is that it took advantage of an unconscious fear that a lot of the internet seemed to have, automatonophobia. A specific phobia of human-like figures such as statues, mannequins, or animatronics. Seeing a robot skeleton or endoskeleton covered by a crude suit, which is meant to imitate an animal or human, just rubbed people the wrong way. The eyes would feel unnatural, and their movement was stiff, as the skeleton was very limited in its mobility. This would make it seem eerie when moving. Add the robotic voices a lot of them would have, and now you basically felt creeped out whenever you were near one. I grew up going to Chuck E. Cheese back when I was a child, and our restaurant never really had any animatronics. At most they had a guy in a suit, so I never really was exposed to that particular fear. However, thanks to the power of the internet, I can now see just how bad or goofy a lot of the animatronics looked. And I could see the reason why people would constantly check to see if they moved when they weren't supposed to. Kinda like a very messed up version of Toy Story when you think about it. So now you take a fear that many people have, implement it into your game, and add a timer on it. A visible countdown. Top it off with a little extra spice of limited access to your safety net, and voila, you now created a sense of entrapment, so to speak. It's similar to how in an awkward situation, time feels like it's going by really, really slowly. Since you were constantly uneasy due to the danger of the animatronics, you were managing resources, in this case power, which is used to operate the camera, lights, and doors. And you were also waiting for the day to end in order to finish that stage. It ended up making nights seem a lot longer than they actually were. These nights were roughly around 9 minutes. However, to a first-time player who was completely in the dark, with a headset or earphones at full volume, and no prior knowledge, it seemed like an eternity. That excess concentration would also make you all the more susceptible to the game's jump scares. Like that one. Basically a fast-moving action with a loud noise in order to make you jump from your seat. Thus, it receives the name jump scare. This mechanic of cameras and stop the animatronics would basically remain throughout the series, albeit with a bit of a change here or there. Now, gameplay aside, the next big thing that made the game so popular was the lore. The game gave you lore. Just enough for you to know what's going on, but not enough to have the full picture. The dialogue would provide lore. The environment would provide lore. The animatronic models themselves would provide lore. But all of them would do it in a cookie crumb trail, as to not expose too much of that lore. The internet was now intrigued and had many questions. What was the bite of 87? Why are the animatronics coming to life? Who is Golden Freddy? Why does my screen get glitched out with the phrase, "It's me"? Why does Freddy's nose boop when I touch it? Why does that band keep coming back? All of these questions and more gave leeway to a scavenger hunt. The internet banded together and would share their findings of the game to piece together answers. At the time, it was incredible to see these posts, videos, comments, debates, and headcanons. Scott Cawthon knew how to handle all of these theories very well, by staying silent most of the time and answering questions with more questions. I know it's gonna sound stupid, but I just found out I could write. I always saw like the toggles in most of the worlds that I visit that say pens, but I never knew you could actually pick them up. I thought that was like something exclusively for VR, which is gonna help out a lot because I need to designate area. How do I use this one? I need to designate an area for the video footage. Future Corgi, if you see that, fix that. It's not pretty. We're not an artist, remember? We're a programmer. Fix that. Due to this success, Scott was able to release more games to add to the franchise. And as mentioned, each one had more secrets, more lore, and more questions, thus trapping the internet in a loop of mystery. I don't know if this applies to you, but remember when you got home and suddenly you received a notification of a video from your favorite YouTuber about an update on Scott's website, and all the findings that the internet was able to come up with? Game theorists, 8-bit gaming, and many more. I personally was following a lot of game theories from the game theorists. Yeah, well, those were simpler days. Now, the game's popularity kept rising with each entry, and the community kept boosting that popularity. Game theorists did a huge collab with every FNAF theory channel to discuss findings, and even Markiplier became the king of Five Nights at Freddy's after beating all 20 mode. Each entry added more, because we craved more. FNAF 1 through 4, Sister Location, Pizzeria Simulator. The game kept evolving from a simple horror game to a tycoon simulator to getting a heftier upgrade via the form of Security Breach being in first person and releasing for consoles. Hi, Editor Matthias here, which is just another fancy name for Present Matthias. I was editing the video and I was able to see that past Matthias, as dumb as he is, forgot to mention that there's going to be a brand new FNAF game coming out, which is Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic. It was one of the main reasons why I made the video in the first place. So it might have been because I don't really know why he didn't mention it, but hey, I'm not one to judge because I know that I'm going to make mistakes and future Matthias is also going to have to fix those mistakes. So we all think we're idiots. If you're wondering why everything looks different, it's because it's a brand new day. It's literally a day after I'm still editing this. But again, hope you enjoyed the video. Back to past Matthias, recording Matthias. Bye. We even got an RPG game like FNAF World. We don't talk about that one. But FNAF didn't just stay as a game. It went on to have books and a movie, which also provided questions and answers. Now, I'ma be honest, I didn't read the books or see the movie. At some point, at least for me, the lore got way too out of hand, and I lost a little bit of interest. However, I do respect the fact that the franchise was able to do it in such a way. Five Nights at Freddy's left a mark on the horror genre, starting its own subgenre of Survive the Night games, where people would take this formula and apply it to their own characters, thus adding more titles to the mix and, for a while, flooding the horror market. Some of the ones I remember enjoying were Five Nights at Candy's, Five Nights at Treasure Island, and One Night at Flumpty's. Dude, I just noticed that past Matthias wrote where instead of were, and I am extremely disappointed in myself. But that's also probably future Matthias thinking of present Matthias, so it's probably going to happen again. Now, how did Scott respond to this plethora of games created due to his project? By initiating the Fazbear Fanverse, a way to collaborate with developers, provide them support, and just continuing the subgenre as a whole, whilst introducing different twists to further the subgenre's mechanics and features. The internet has taught us that when we all band together to work on something, it creates a titan of artistic creation. For example, remember creepypastas? Those became incredibly popular, and stories keep being written to this day. The SCP Foundation also became an incredibly popular subject because people would keep adding entries. This one is my personal favorite, by the way. I still keep reading new SCP entries to this day, and I follow a lot of animation channels regarding the Foundation. I find it really interesting what the internet is capable of coming up with. We even found the specific person responsible for Burger King foot lettuce. We didn't have anything to work with. Nothing. And I'm not even going to say we because I didn't participate. The internet didn't have anything. And they found him. Like, if that doesn't demonstrate the power of the internet, I don't know what does. To summarize, the internet is an amazing place. Sometimes a bit of a bad place and a scary place, but mostly amazing. The mystery that surrounded FNAF's lore and the simplicity of the gameplay made this franchise become a staple of the horror genre. FNAF 1 continues to be a nostalgic game for many, and the fun that we had with the franchise when each entry came out will always be an unforgettable moment. Thanks for watching the video. Sorry again for taking a lot longer to make this episode. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, I had another episode for Assassin's Creed Shadows that I had fully written, recorded, and edited, but I just couldn't bring myself to like it. And I'm not about to post content for you guys. Honestly, you guys deserve the best of the best that I have to offer, and something like that is not something that's the best of the best. To tell you how bad it was, at least in my opinion, I rewrote and re-recorded that script like 4 times, but I still thought it was trash. Anyways, if you guys do wish to see the video, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to post it later on, but for now, I think it's just going to remain in the discarded section of my library. Hope you like the new map. I don't know what's been going on. I've been having issues with the video player for the other maps that I've been playing. This one also had it. I was able to place another image on it, but they haven't been working very well. And I felt like the other one didn't really fit this specific topic as much as this map did, but I hope you like it. You know, I spent a lot of time. I don't really mind spending a lot of time looking for these maps and for these character models to be able to share with you guys. So again, I hope you really like it. But anyways, I'm starting to rant again. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. I would really appreciate that. And if you like hearing a random corgi do dumb stuff and rant about video game things that make him nerd out, don't hesitate to subscribe. I would also appreciate that. In the meantime, I hope you're having a swell day. Cheers.